Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about emotional avoidance. That is a thinker and something that we really need to think about. And luckily, I have Michelle here who's going to help us think about this in a whole new way. So thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing your time and your perspective with me. But let's go ahead and dive right in. When you hear those words, emotional avoidance, what does that make you think about?
Yeah, well, so we're thinking about negative emotions, of course, right? Because we don't avoid joy and pleasant emotions. We obviously avoid negative ones. What does that mean? Includes anger, frustration, sadness, hopelessness, and all the rest. So when we feel those feelings, our inclination, because our brain and body is so uncomfortable, is we want to avoid it like the plague, right? And we do
Mhm.
all different kinds of lovely, mindful, mindy things in order to avoid it. We distract, we, um, we kind of tune ourselves out, we numb ourselves, we do all these different kinds of things because it's so uncomfortable. We avoid, of course. We also rationalize, right? We rationalize our behaviors and our thoughts too. So there's all different kinds of things that we do. And it's a very humanistic thing to do because our brains are wired for avoiding discomfort, right? And always being in safety. So we're going
Mhm.
to always we have the propensity to go to that space and avoid our negative emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I think that is the biggest thing is that we find this stress reliever and just to try to not acknowledge it or we push it against on somebody else is like, oh, no, that I did not do nothing wrong. There's no reason for me to feel this way. But in reality, like we have to take everything in, like our anger, our sadness, they're tools. You know what I mean? It's safe to feel those emotions. It's our right to feel those emotions. They tell us something about ourselves that we won't normally know unless we are actually feeling those emotions. Like there are people out there that literally
Yeah.
cannot feel emotions at all. They're completely blank to it. So then the fact that we have the ability, majority of the people have the ability to feel feelings, to feel happy, to feel sad, to feel joy, to feel anger, to feel all the extremities that's in between. I think there needs to be a new way of really dealing with it and seeing it because at the end of the day we have to learn how to roll with the punches, you know what I mean? So it's just like I
Yeah.
guess what are some misconceptions that really comes with our emotions?
Yeah. So one of them, I think a lot of what you just said is, one is it's a portal to our values. It kind of reminds us of what's important to us. And that's a really important reminder, right? And even when we get triggered, the importance of getting triggered is it still lets us know where we need to be healed,
Mhm.
right? If we don't get triggered and we don't have frustration or disappointment, we don't know what we still need to heal. So every single emotion has utility. They're all important equally, right? Because like a lot of people use anxiety, for example, for motivation. If
Mhm.
you had to complete a task and you weren't, slightly anxious, you'd be like, oh, who cares? What do I need to do this for, right? But like it drives us. Now, again, if we take it to the extreme, that's not healthy and it could often actually lead to shutdown, right? Which could be counterproductive, but we just want to lower the volume. That's all we want to do.
Yeah.
It's like just lowering the volume. So a misconception is that our emotions could hurt us. Often people feel that way. Even when I work with a lot of people with anxiety, of course, and there's this sense that they're going to like explode or, the anxiety is going to creep up and get so intensified that they won't be able to handle it or that even they're going to die, that it's
Mhm.
because it's so uncomfortable in the mind and the body. But we know what goes up must come down. We
Mhm.
don't explode, like nothing happens. We get to an extent, right, where we're so distressed, let's say, but then our bodies tend to regulate. So it also allows us to have new experiences, to create new neural pathways in our brain. It allows us to actually tap into our resilience and actually see firsthand what we're able to handle and also connect to our strength, right? So if
Mhm.
we never put ourselves in uncomfortable and challenging situations, we'll never believe that we could actually accomplish what we need to and want to.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that holds another value to the fact that sometimes we don't realize what we're able to do until we have that pressure point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Until we have that deadline, because a lot of people talk about how they like to know when a certain deadline is, because if they're not, then they're going to procrastinate, and having that deadline allows them to actually get the work done. So it goes along exactly what you're saying, is that we kind of need it. We can't avoid it. Growth is comes from discomfort. Growth comes from something that we needed to learn in one way or another. So if you fail, well, then don't be distraught. Just know that that's a learning opportunity. And I think a lot of the times people don't realize there are so many learning opportunities. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that a lot of people avoid, let's say, for instance, jobs. They'll think, oh, all these employers are the problem. Every employer that I've been into, they're all the same. But it's like, okay, who's the main common denominator? You know what I mean? And if you're the main common denominator, then you really have to do that self evaluation and figure out what is really causing you to retaliate and see the jobs as the problem, because we cannot continue to live life thinking that everyone else is the problem without some accountability. You know what I mean? Like, we need to have that accountability, because that's what helps us grow. And I think it's kind of scary that there's this new wave of like parents trying to like protect their children, and so that they don't ever have to experience discomfort or pain, but then you're not allowing the child to actually develop those characteristic skills that makes them into a well-developed, well-minded adult. So I think that we really do need to go about our emotions in a whole another way. So
Yeah.
what's the best way, in your opinion, to really embrace emotions?
Well, so I just want to piggyback something that you said, if that's
Of
okay.
course, of course.
So you did, I know you didn't, you're probably not even cognizant that you said this, because I always hear people saying things which have an underlying meaning and really reinforces what I talk about, how we're taught
Yeah.
innately to avoid our emotions. So you said, and you probably didn't realize it, but you said, don't be distraught, by your emotions. And that is the message that that's constantly being communicated. Don't be
Yeah.
distraught. Don't feel, sad. Right? It's
Yeah.
always this propensity to return to the happiness and joy, in the world. That's not really realistic and it's not humanistic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's a repertoire of feelings and all of them are welcome. And again, when you say don't be distraught, I know you didn't mean, invalidate your feelings or don't like, or avoid your feelings. However, it's still always in the forefront of our minds that there's this kind of inclination to transform our negative emotions into positive ones,
Hmm.
and it is okay to be distraught. Like you could say to yourself, that's where self-compassion comes in. You could say to yourself,
Yes.
right now, I am
Yeah.
distraught. Right now, I am feeling sad. And the reason why I'm connecting to that is because of whatever. And in this moment, right, I could connect to my compassion for feeling distraught.
Yeah.
And even though I'm feeling distraught, I don't need to act on those thoughts and feelings. I could act
Mhm.
upon my values and be in the space where I'm being my best self, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I want to say. The second thing is you talked about, you didn't mention the word, but I think what you're really talking about is coping skills.
Mhm.
We don't learn coping skills.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, when we don't give our children, right, the bandwidth to make mistakes, to experience failure, whatever you want to call it, okay? And like you said, it is really life lessons, because that's how I refer to it as well, right? Then again, you don't have the ability, or a child especially doesn't have the ability to build upon those coping skills, right? And build on their confidence
Mm.
and their self-efficacy and their self-empowerment, right? To
Yeah.
really prove to themselves that they could actually accomplish something, And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I met with a woman, and again, she has two young adult sons. One of them she has a really connected relationship with. One of them, not so much. And the son said to her, um, I really want you to believe in me, something like that.
Mm.
And, her again, where did she go to? Of course I believe in you, da, 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 and she kind of, right? And I was like, were you really hearing him? Were you being relational with him? And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, do you know what he meant by believing in him? So she looked at me and she's like, no. I go, because I didn't know what he meant either. Like, I have no idea what that means. What does that even mean? That he wants you to believe it. And you're just saying, okay, but you don't even know what he's talking about. So how are you supposed to give him what he needs?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, yeah, that's true. I was like, yeah, he was giving you a gold nugget. He
Mm,
was coming to you and telling you what he wants from you. A, because maybe he actually believes you could give it to him. B, because he wants to connect with you. Oh my God. Like, hello, that's what you want from him. Like, he's giving you a gift. So I said,
yeah.
first be relational. Say like, wow, thank you so much for like A, your openness and also your comfortability at expressing yourself to me. Like, I am so appreciative in this moment that like you're bringing this to me. Like, literally, it's a gift, you
Yeah.
know? And then
Yeah.
saying, like, what do you mean by that? Because I don't know that I could give you what you need if I don't understand what it is that you need. Could you explain that to me? Because I really care about what you need and I really want to follow through,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if she doesn't understand, she could, expand, have him expand on it and on and on and on. But like, these are moments that happen in our lives 24/7, I have to tell you. And we miss the boat. And it's not anybody's fault because we don't learn how to do that. And I actually disclosed to her, like I said to her, I go, I didn't know this language. I didn't know how to act relationally. I didn't have that from my parents. I could tell you that much. Like, I learned this. I learned this. I learned this from what I didn't get. And I learned this because, right, this is what I do in my life, right? And I'm committed to
Yeah.
it and dedicated. But why I'm sharing this with you is that anyone could learn it. You could learn this too.
Yeah. I mean,
She was
everyone
like,
can really learn it.
yeah, she was like, wow. I was like, yeah. Oh, and then she said to me, I don't know how to do this. I don't think I can do it. Okay. And then I said to her, I looked at her and she had tears coming down her eyes. And she
Mm.
said to me, oh, I want to have a relationship with him. And, she was like talking very emotionally. And I go, hello, are we in the same room? Because you're doing that.
Yeah.
You're expressing yourself in a deep emotional way. You're emoting. You're connected. I feel compassion towards you right now. And I feel compassion towards your emotion. And I feel connected to you right now.
Mm.
You're doing it. You're actually doing. So when you tell me you can't do it, I don't buy into that. I'm sorry. Because you're doing it with me right now. And she was like, you know?
Yeah, I think that holds a so much valid point because sometimes we don't realize that we can do something until we're actually doing it. And we really do, like you said earlier, we have to remember life is so subjective and these words can be so subjective from one person to another. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So really breaking it down, excuse me, to understand like what her son meant by that is very valid, is very real, you know what I mean? Because we all have to kind of recognize what does she mean when she says this? What does he mean when he says this? Like, what does it really mean? And that gives you an opportunity to have those open-ended questions to really allow the conversation to go into a place that you never really knew. And I think that's the true empowering part of it is just accepting the fact that you might not know everything. You know what I mean? We don't know everything. There's always an opportunity to learn. And just having that self compassion on yourself and for the other person. Like, how kind is it for somebody like yourself to be able to bring that to light to her and to me and to my audience? You know what I mean? So that we can recognize that every emotion is valid. Every feeling that you feel is feel it, embrace it, embody it, recognize it. So it's like, how long do you actually embody a feeling until it turns into the negative end of the spectrum where it's not necessarily healthy for you?
Well, that happens, when it's not healthy, right? Because because you find yourself like highly anxious or you're not challenging yourself in the way that you want, or you're not like living the life you want to live, right? You're avoiding things, you tend to be, unhappy most of the time. There's a lot of science and signals that let you know your body speaks. Oh my gosh, how many we ignore our body. Our body
Um,
tells us, and it's the portal again to our lives. Like, it tells us we're uncomfortable. It tells us we have gut feelings and reactions that often, like, don't pay attention to because it's in our subconscious. We just ignore it. A good
yeah.
example, which makes me laugh, is I can't even like, so sometimes I'll be sitting with clients like from like for hours, like 12 hours in a row or something. And then at the end of the day, all of a sudden when start my sessions, my feet are killing me because the shoes that I'm wearing that day were uncomfortable, let's say. And I'm like, how did I not feel this the entire day? You know, why? Because I wasn't paying attention. I was so focused and on my clients and the work that I was doing that I didn't pay attention to my physicality. And the second then I stop when I'm not, distracted, oh my goodness, right? I feel the pain. That's what we go through. We have the innate ability to cut off, what we feel in our body and what we feel in our minds and our thoughts and our feelings. And we do it
Yeah.
really well. And a lot of people repress their feelings or kind of numb out their feelings.
Yeah.
It's actually a healthy adaptation and a healthy coping skill for when you need it. But unfortunately, we carry it with us into our adulthood and then it becomes counterproductive. So if you're finding that most of the time you're in distress or discomfort, or you're not living the life you want to be living and you're not accomplishing the goals that you set out to accomplish,
Hmm.
you need to really learn how to regulate your emotions and you need to understand what's getting in the way. What are the barriers?
Yeah, absolutely. You need to have that moment to really think about it. That really makes a big difference because it's like you said, we really do realize it, but it's after the fact, I mean, our subconscious does so much work that we don't even realize that it's working when it's working because but it's working, thank goodness that it's working because man, if we actually paid attention to every little detail that goes on inside of us and outside of us, no one probably could get anything done, I mean, because we'll be stuck on just breathing alone. So it really does make it important to really regulate your emotions and pay attention to yourself. You deserve to just have that moment to just recognize what's going on within you and without of you because it matters, and it sucks that time is catching up to us because I really do feel like we can keep going down this avenue. But what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
I think that life is so short, and I know this is right, simplistic, but life is so short. And I unfortunately have the opportunity to see how life plays out sometimes, right? Like things happen, just happens just because, right? And every moment
Mhm.
is so precious. Like we don't have time to waste, not even a moment, to not be in the present moment and to not nourish ourselves and our relationships. And I think that if you put the time, energy, effort, and intentionality, you could actually have the life you want. And anybody could have it. That's the amazing thing because we could actually change our neural pathways and our brain structure. We could change our behaviors. We could make connections. So I just always feel like hopefulness and joyfulness about the human condition. I feel like it's just so compelling and I love to see transformations and like the clients that I see and the work that I do and I love going to work every single day. Like it brings me so much joy, honestly.
I mean, yeah, that's beautiful because you get that peace, that a mind that not only are you living out your dreams and your goals to just do this for yourself, but you're also doing it for other people. Like you're just shifting their heads. Just look this way and you'll be able to see it. There you go. Now you know what I mean? So yeah, that's so enjoyable and I love the fact that you talked about life is short, and yes, it may be simple, but my father-in-law just passed away recently. He
Sorry.
died in his sleep, and so it made us very real to us that our present day is truly a present. It's a gift in itself. So take advantage of every day and don't disregard how useless something may seem because could be so purposeful or so grand to something else to a degree, you know what I mean? So everything has something that can truly be impactful in one way or another. So yes, thank you for that. And ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, because I sure did, go check out Michelle. I have access to her website. She has such great content on there. Oh my goodness, so much great content on there so that you can continue on thinking. Reach out to her if you feel like you need some type of regulating or just that shift in perspective. She's the lady to help you out with this. So with that being said, always, always, always keep thinking, y'all.